Hello, my name's Ethan McMahon, and this is just going to be a commentary video reviewing or a walkthrough commentary video of my game Undiscovered and its final development playthrough. During this video, I'll just talk over what's happening and give some backstory and information on design decisions I made and mechanics that I've developed. This is just showing off all the menu stuff. All of this is just to help make the game seem a bit more polished. The options and different settings. The first one for the gameplay and the grayscale stuff during development, like in the previous videos and stuff, everything has been in grey box, and so I got very comfortable operating in grey box. And when I finally swapped over to coloring assets and adding color to the level, I didn't like it, and so I created a system within the UI to change I think it's just the global illumination or something, in the post-process volume, to have everything as a grayscale. The voice lines were made with an AI voice generating software called 11 Labs. It's actually quite good. They do sound very robotic, especially Leah. You'll hear her it's incredibly monotone, but it serves the purpose for what I'm trying to make. And I obviously couldn't do the voice acting myself or have really the time to worry too much about the audio or sound design, and so using AI voice acting just was the cleanest and simplest solution.
There should be a rock shelf on the side you can climb.
As you can see, you saw with the butterflies at the start of the level, and just now with the climbing holds, even the UI design and stuff as well. Grey and white is pretty much all encompassing. All UI will be pretty much grey and white. Any all the dialogue and stuff is grey and white. Any interactable item or collectible and stuff like that will primarily be white or have some sort of visual language that is white, such as the butterflies on the whiskey bottle there. This is same as how Uncharted would do it. Especially The Last of Us, they'll use just one visual language, so one visual leading color, so I'll say.
Damn, did you see that?
And yeah, you can the voice acting is rough sometimes, but it does the job. That there tree fall, that was adapting the IWLS interaction lever pull. I talk about loads of this stuff in the blog, but that's been pretty much a consistent thing throughout the whole development of this game, is adapting and altering and just sort of jerry-rigging what Jacob has made within the iWalls template, toolkit, sorry, and just making it work for what I needed to do. So with the tree fall, it's just Jerry hiding the actual lever and hiding the lever and just removing the widget and just having it activate the level sequence of the tree fall whenever you finish the movement. The waterfall section here went through a ton of iteration during development. The main thing is this camera zoom out. and this ledge collapse. The camera zoom out was just an idea that also uses another one of an already made blueprint within eyeballs that I've just adapted for this situation. And that their ledge collapse I made myself. It was a nightmare, to be honest, simply just because of how the climbing system works. I cover it in my blog, but it basically, whenever you're trying to detach the character from a climbing point, it doesn't like that, because it doesn't attach the character to the object, it attaches the character to the location and like the coordinates, and so it caused a lot of issues whenever I was trying to fix it. Well, work with it, but
Yeah, the whole damn thing's still there. The yard, the rail lines, even some of the
this weenie, or I think it's weenie, basically the grand reveal of the train yard, was a lot of delicate design to like make the have like the slow-mo whenever you climb up and have the height of the climb perfect, so that gives you the best like natural vision of the train yard, and just making sure things all line up perfectly. I'm quite proud of it, and it did take a long time to do. Here you can see like the butterflies act as visual language to tell you that the minecart is interactable, as well as the whiteness on like the white color of the wheel. This puzzle area actually came about because originally there was another climbing section here, but as you'll see, like there's another climbing section coming up, so having the waterfall climb, then this sort of cliffside climb where the puzzle is now, and then the cavern climb that's coming up as well, it just seems like really repetitive, and so there's a design decision made to just remove that climbing section entirely and create a puzzle to add like a change of pace and just give the level a bit more interactivity, I guess, more fun as well. This is obviously the cavern section. This went through a lot of changes as well. Mainly game feel stuff, like
just don't look down.
Things to make it feel as big as it is, and like the drama, like the sound effects of the water dripping, to make it sound like more of a cave.
Whoa!
The fall here,
That was way
sort of a lot more disguised than how it originally was, and also gives me a chance to introduce like the back this here back swing mechanic. Credit to Eyeballs for all of this stuff, by the way. I'll cover the art style as well quickly. I don't like textures. In all the like videos I've posted and all the like projects I work on, textures just don't. I'm not a fan.
Okay.
I know they look good, but like I struggle to work with them as a level designer, and I just find it easier to use matte colors, especially grey. Hence why I was in the grey scaling sort of like, or grey boxing stage for quite a long time, even though I probably could have left it a lot sooner than when I did.
See the elevator.
The matte colors combined with the slight cell shading and outline post-processing stuff I have, I think for what I'm trying to make as like an Uncharted inspired knockoff game, I didn't want to, like, I'm not an artist. I'm not going to spend time worrying about textures, and if it matches up, it becomes a lot easier to just use matte colors that get the idea across. And yes, like, kind of look alright, but the art isn't necessarily my priority. The functionality and the design of the level and the code and stuff and scripting, that's my responsibility, and that's sort of my field. And so using these matte colors is just simply better for me. The bridge collapse.
Don't break.
This again adapts the already like within eyeballs camera blueprint.
Son of a.
A lot happens here with like physics actors. Funny enough, those like wooden planks that follow, like that actually collapse on the bridge, they were a nightmare for quite a while. Like during development, actually getting them to work, was a lot of like, probably an unhealthy amount of scripting involved in actually getting those to fall correctly and in the manner I wanted them, and to like have a slight delay in between each plank falling so it looks more natural instead of all of them falling at the exact same time, and like change the rotation just slightly whenever they do fall so it looks more natural.
There is sunlight coming from that tunnel up ahead. Maybe I can climb out of here.
This small cave area originally was literally, there was no real climbing here. The idea was like you would literally climb that little scaffold and then you would just exit the caves. There would be no additional climbing or like puzzle solving really. But I realized that's just like from playtesting and stuff, that just is boring, and the space is too big to leave empty. And so the idea of reworking it into more of a complex like puzzle slash climbing area using the rope swing mechanic just seemed more appetizing or appealing, I guess, and more satisfying.
I count 5 rebels. You'll need to be stealthy to get past them.
Wait, where is my gun?
Did you seriously forget to pack your gun?
She's so sarcastic.
All right, wish me luck.
This is the cabin session. This went through tons of playtesting, loads of notes, loads of tiny tweaks to the AI's like pathing and timing and where they look, when they look where, and obviously credit the eyeballs for the enemies, but I did adapt some of their logic to help like with level design aspects. Here you can see that their small widget show up. The distance widget basically should like to lead the player to the pistol. I know this isn't like perfect level design, but it works, and I feel like it actually fits a lot with the game because
Well, if you had actually remembered to pack your own pistol, we wouldn't be in this mess.
you know I'm not a AAA dev, and I can cheat sometimes and
Okay,
use UI and use little cheaty methods like that to
You should be
to
coming up on the elevator.
get the player to go places I want.
There it is. I've
But I
got
obviously
eyes
try
on the
not to.
elevator now.
Good, there is a path toward the train.
Story wise, finally like the player's back on track.
Now,
Um,
just have to find a way
this
up there.
came originally, the actual idea for level was that you didn't fall in that there cavern and you actually just got like the elevator down, and the elevator was the thing that was collapsing. But I wanted to extend the level and introduce more combat mechanic, like the cabin acts as a small tutorial for combat and using like the knife and the pistol finally. And so I needed an area to do that, and that's why I needed extra space within the level, because had I done it the way I originally planned of just having you get to the elevator and then you collapse and then you go straight into the train yard, it just wouldn't really look that good, and also it wouldn't really make that much sense to the player, because you're just sort of throwing them into the deep end of combat without actually teaching them like any of the basics of the combat with the stealth takedowns and using the pistol and stuff like that. So it was sort of a happy accident that I changed the cavern bridge to collapse, and that allowed me to sort of make the cave and the cabin and make these areas to add more sort of tutorial aspects, because obviously this is a one level game. You know, there is no tutorial level before this, so I am teaching the player how to do things as they're doing it. And that's been the whole sort of theme throughout the level. Like, there is, you know, there's an enemy turned away from you at the start of the cabin section for a reason, to introduce the stealth mechanic, like the stealth takedown, in a safe manner. And that sort of method of like tutorialing and teaching the player will continue throughout the level, and does throughout the entire thing, I hope, at least. This is a tree climb section. Introduces another mechanic of the swinging. It's kind of finicky with like the rotation of the trees and like how the swinging works, but satisfied how it turned out in the end. Works like 99% of the time anyway, first try, so.
Alright, I'm on the ridge. I've got eyes on the train yard now.
You need to hurry. That detour in the cavern.
You can sort of see from here all the different foliage and like the landscape and stuff. This is all one big landscape, like within like the UE5 like landscape. What's Tool, I think it is. This landscape took like forever to just painstakingly like model myself. It's quite satisfying, to be honest. I do enjoy doing it, but it is a long process, especially whenever you go from grey boxing entirely, where everything is cubes, and then you're trying to landscape over that and make like smooth ramps and terrain. The landscape material as well, I found a tutorial online for that. But on top of that, all the foliage in like one of the very first videos of this project, the trees and stuff were like these blocky, like literal, like it was like 3 cubes and one big stick in the middle. That, I don't know how to say, but basically when blocking out, like I tried to do this as step by step as possible by doing it as like, you know, literally instead of a modeled tree asset, or instead of like bushes and rocks and stuff, it was just cubes. Everything was cubes. The floor was cubes, the trees were cubes, the bushes were cubes, the rocks were cubes, everything was cubes. And I layered on top of that eventually with the landscape material, and then finally introducing different like actual static meshes and models, and then after that finally introducing color into these static meshes and models, and more foliage of like the grass and things. So I think that like iterative design is what has made this level actually like function, and is sort of why it is the way it is. Like if you pay attention, you can still see like certain cubes underneath the ground a little bit. I've gotten rid of like the majority of them, but there are a few that still linger.
Esse pátio de trem é realmente escroto. É velho e chato. Temos que sair daqui. Estou tão cansado e com fome quando é o jantar.
Just the first section where the player gets to finally use the pistol like in succession. That there yellow enemy is a rifle enemy, and it'll come up again in the courtyard. But again, just slowly introducing the player like, oh, this enemy is now a different, you know, color than the other ones. Oh, it has a different gun. it's probably kind of dangerous. This garage building went through quite a lot of iteration as well. The main things were these. You can see the two like pieces of broken roof. Initially there was not really much cover or like viable cover that the player could use to complete this area using stealth only. It almost always ended up in like just open combat where like the AI spotted you from across the room. So adding these separated the room a lot and helped. Also allowed me to keep light into the building, because you'll see like that level there's no electricity, as it were. Like there's no lights or light bulbs or point lights or like little spotlights running around. Like there's nothing. There's no lamps. It is all natural light. And a majority of that is from the just global illumination of the directional light, like the sunlight within the level. But in order to mask that, or like at least give the illusion that it's not entirely just like the lighting hasn't been built or something like that, I tried to have like all the windows you'll see are open and are only boarded up a tiny bit, or there's loads of cracks in all the roofs of every building you go to, or even in the cavern, like there's cracks in the roof there, to allow like just little rays of light like this into the building to give off the illusion like, oh, it's being lit by the sun instead of just the global illumination.
Satellite scans show multiple heat signatures in the yard and clustered in that building ahead.
These little collectibles as well, I think there's 7 of them in the map total. They all just add like little it's what a collectible does. Just gives the player a reason to sort of look around a bit more and pay a bit more attention to the surroundings, in case they see like those little 3 butterflies floating around that allude to a collectible. They're also just quite cute, I think.
They must be protecting the documents.
It doesn't look like stealth is really an option here. I'm gonna have to go loud.
Good luck, Isaac.
I like the combat's happening here. Now, one of the issues with this project and using eyeballs is, I'll be honest, the AI aren't the smartest. Like, all credit to Jacob and like the project's great, but the AI are kind of stupid if we're being realistic. And so like trying to hide that, obviously I don't have the time to redo the AI and like fix their EQS or whatever it is. But through level design and like trying to introduce them a little bit more dynamically, like having these 2 guys that come out of the door here, or having the guys up on the railings. Yes, he's not shooting at me, but imagine if he was. Do you know what I mean? It adds at least something that sort of covers up that they are a bit stupid.
That rebel train is only a couple of minutes away. You've got to hurry.
Also, as you can see, like the actual character model, like, is a bit of a mohawk, but he also has this earpiece on, like the radio. This obviously isn't default within like iWalls, like I added this myself, but just to give it a bit more, like, Leah is she's in a helicopter is the narrative of it, and she's providing like aerial assistance and like mission data and stuff, and just to make the narrative sort of make sense, and plausible deniability that it is just a fucking radio on their head. It sort of helps to have like a headset on him, and it gives the illusion that they are just talking via radio, and
Get the
sort of
document
helps with the
and
narrative
make
and makes it make more sense, I guess. So this section, I just made that enemy like a bit different, gave him extra health and stuff, and in order to like deter the player from just shooting the enemy, the idea is that I want them to shoot the red barrel beside them, and that causes the little walkway to collapse. I think it's a bit more dynamic of a combat sequence, and it's a bit of a change of pace in terms of like they just went through a whole courtyard combat section where yes there were red barrels to introduce the player to the red barrels as like explosives. Granted, in the video I don't shoot them, but you get the concept. It's just a bit more of a it's a change of pace in terms of combat, and like it looks quite nice as well.
The train is almost here. You're gonna miss the exit.
I've played this like 1,000 times, so I'm a bit of a pro.
I'm
I
trying.
realize.
There is just too many rebels here.
I mean, stand up, man. This is hopefully the narrative sort of explained it a bit during the subtitles if you'd like to pay attention to them. But the idea is the whole reason the player is here, Isaac, is to collect these documents in order to. Some of the pages detail a hidden Aztec temple deep within the Amazonian jungle, blah, 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 because they are looking for the Amazonian diamond. Classic Uncharted like storyline, basically.
Run now. You can't
My
miss that.
my magnum opus, the training sequence. This thing has been a nightmare since
All right, I
the
made the train.
conception of its idea. Okay,
Chill out. The
but
job ain't done yet.
I'm really happy with how
Remember
it
when
turned
I
out.
said it wasn't a friendly train?
What do you mean?
There are rebel heat signatures all over that train. So yeah, have fun.
I don't really know what to say, to be honest.
Oh,
A lot of
great.
this was
Another train.
constant playtesting and tweaks
Say
and
alert.
changes
There's
and
more
little
variables
like
on that one too.
fixes, like even having the player climb the car cabins that took forever because of just how the climbing system works, or having the AI spawn correctly on each of the like the smaller cars and stuff like that. Like this has been a culmination of a ton of playtesting and tweaks and changes and bug fixing. A lot of the ideas, like even having this truck come past, are ideas coming from playtesting and coming from like the help of my lecturers or my friends and stuff giving ideas. And luckily I was able to adapt
It's too
there's
late
already
to
a
set the
truck
train
within
tracks
iWalls that I adapted to just work with the tree and like spawning logic and stuff that I created.
You're just gonna have to jump. There is no
Also the train like just model and static like the
There's
train
never an easy
engine and the
option,
different
is
car
there?
types. You can see like it's different colors on the train engine and like the different cars. All this is like randomized with just weighted booleans to change the color of different elements in the static mesh, or it's just different weighted booleans to choose between the different variations of the large, medium, and small cars that I created. Each of these are following different logic for the spawning, and their like location and how the actual train system works is within the blog and stuff. But credit to Code Like Me for the tutorial. But this train and this entire sequence took a lot to develop, and is granted
Oh my
still
God!
quite buggy in certain areas.
I made it.
And the AI obviously doesn't like it because it's a
Good
moving
job.
train,
There is still more Amari on the train.
but you get the concept.
You're in the clear now. Well done, Isaac.
Next time, you're getting the documents and I get to stay in the helicopter.
Oh, come on now. You had fun, right?
And yeah, that's it. I spent a long time working on this project. I did a ton of scripting and a lot of research and reference gathering. Like, I played Uncharted a ton and took screenshots of and GIFs and reference images for everything. This took a long time to create, and I've obviously learned like a ton from this project in terms of scripting and level design and stuff. But I've also dabbled in different fields, as you saw, like with the sound design and the UI and stuff like that. Like, it's not necessarily my forte, and it's not what I intend to do with my career, but it is nice to have a well-rounded knowledge of these different fields. And this project has allowed me to learn a ton, albeit with its own frustrations and setbacks. Yeah. Thank you if you stayed to listen, and good night, folks.